Leadership comes in many forms in this country, and for First Nations communities, the chief is a key person in that regard, maybe the key person. And so we're pleased tonight to welcome 4 such leaders to our studio, all women, incidentally, to talk about their roles, their communities, and yes, maybe a bit about whether their gender matters to their leadership style. From the west to the east of our province, Chief Linda Dabasage from Chiging First Nation on Manitoulin Island. Chief Mary McHugh King from the Beausoleil First Nation. Chief Kelly LaRocca from the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. And Chief Phyllis Williams from the Curve Lake First Nation. And it's a delight to welcome all 4 of you to our studio tonight for this conversation. I want to start off just going around the table here with each one of you individually to try to understand your particular part of our world a little better. And Chief Lynn, I'm going to start with you. Where is Chiging on Manitoulin Island?
Chiging is in the heart of Manitoulin Island. It is one of 6 communities on the island. North
Channel,
right? Georgian Bay.
About halfway along.
Beautiful location.
It is beautiful, I'll grant you that. How many people are you responsible for?
We have a membership listing of approximately 2,600 people, and it fluctuates 2,700 people.
And what do you see as your mission as the chief of Chiging?
To listen to the people, to serve the people to the best of my abilities, from babies to elders, and especially for those who are on their way to coming.
Chief Mary, you ready to go?
Yep.
Where is your First Nation?
Beausoleil First Nation is located on the southern tip of Georgian Bay, southern of Manitoulin Island. We have a population of approximately 2,500 members, 800 of which live in the community on the island.
And what do you see as your mission as the chief?
My mission, like Chief Dabasage, is to listen to the people and do what I can to make it a better community. One of the main missions for me is obviously trying to get a new ferry for the community. That's one of the biggest pressing issues that we're facing right now, along with trying to promote and expand our economic development and things of that nature to provide more opportunities and such for our people.
Gotcha. Thank you. Chief Kelly, how about you? Where is Scugog Island?
Scugog First Nation is on the northernmost point of Scugog Island in Port Perry, Ontario. We have, I think our membership list is up to 278.
278?
Small but mighty. We have approximately 100 people on reserve with their families, and then the rest of the membership are spread out across Canada with a high concentration in and around Vancouver, actually.
And what do you see as your mission?
My mission is to represent the interests of all the people fairly, in a fair-minded way. I want to listen to my people, as do the other chiefs, obviously. I want to secure a financial future for my community and really be a role model to the youth and give them a future that's bright and full of pride.
Gotcha. One last question. What are you holding in your hand?
It's a tobacco tie, so when I speak with it, it gives me a bit of calming.
Gotcha. Okay. Chief Phyllis, where's Curve Lake?
Curve Lake is just north of Peterborough. We're on a peninsula between Buckhorn and Chemong Lakes. And we are very much part of the beautiful Kawarthas.
How many people?
We have about 1,600 currently, but with that, there's an additional few that are occupying our territory through leases. So they lease the land and contribute to the need to maintain some of our roads, policing, et cetera.
I see.
Yes.
And your mission, what do you see it as?
I much like our women here, we need to listen to our people. For us, it's about development right now. We have a growing population, and we need to ensure that our children and youth are part of that growth, and their future is certainly accommodating, from the perspective of our leadership. And for us, we are a boil water community, boil water advisory community.
How long have you been that?
We have been having lots of efforts in terms of addressing things for 20 years.
20 years?
20 years, yes. So that development is hindered by the fact that we don't have the good quality water that we need.
More on that to come.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by the fact that, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm guessing that if I asked 4 you know, Ontario and or Canadian politicians, what do you see as your mission? The first words out of their mouths would not be to listen to the people. That's a very different answer that I've heard from you four that I don't think I'd hear from other politicians. Why is that so high on your list?
I feel that it's our communal sense, our traditional and cultural ways of taking care of our people. When we work together, I work with these beautiful women regularly in different capacities, and we work together for the betterment of our communities. We know what challenges we have, and we know what obstacles and barriers that we have to overcome. So through legislative processes and colonization over time, we've been divided by boundaries and barriers of our communities. But all of these four ladies here are part of a bigger nation, and their communities that my community is also part of, and that's the Anishinaabe Nation.
My hunch, though, Chief Mary, is if I were to ask, politician from Ontario or Canada, they would give an answer something like, well, my job is to lead. You know, I have to decide what needs doing and then lead the public to there. You gave an answer that is exactly the opposite, which is I need to listen to the wisdom of the people and then sort of bring effect to that.
Yeah.
That's a different style of leadership, is it not?
For sure, absolutely. And I think it's important to listen to the people because they are the ones, they're the drivers for the change, is the people. So, you know, by listening to them, they're directing in which way we go as a community. So it's important that we do listen to them, and especially the youth, because the youth are very knowledgeable and they're very grassroots driven. So it's important that we especially listen to them.
Gotcha. Chief Kelly, what is, in your view, the number one issue that you're facing right now?
Much like Chief Phyllis in the Curve Lake community, we're under a boil water advisory. We've been under a permanent drinking water advisory since 2008. But before that time, we were under many repeated BWAs since, the early 90s. So being a community in Durham Region and an hour and a half northeast of Toronto, it's quite unheard of.
You are not that far from this studio and you're having to boil water.
Yes.
How does that make any sense at all?
None at all. Indian Affairs, as I call them, I'm Ministry of Indigenous Affairs, pardon me.
Renamed, yes.
Renamed. Indian Affairs has been involved with us in our boil water struggles, as well as Health Canada, but they've taken their sweet time in getting the money out. The answer I keep hearing back is that the policies within the department do not match the political promises made by the governing party. So I don't see that as a good enough reason. However, I do believe we are on the cusp of coming to some kind of an agreement or an arrangement with the federal government.
What gives you that confidence right now?
That's what I'm being informed of unofficially, so I can't quite make it official yet. And until I see something in writing, it isn't official.
Now, we've heard 20 years over here for boil water advisories. How about for you?
Yeah, so since in and around 1992 for the boil water advisories at Scugog, but a permanent drinking water advisory, which is the sort of next level of severity, since 2008.
How do people manage?
We bring in water, we have pump houses that we service, we hire qualified water operators and do our best, basically. And as a community, we support our members with bringing in bottled water and the things that they need. But it's pretty tough. And I have a 2-year-old baby, and I can't wait to have clean water in the community for her and all of our kids and our elderly people who all of my people need it, obviously. It's a human right. It's hugely concerning.
Chief Phyllis, I want to. You talked to us about the boil water advisory already. What other issues are huge for you at the moment?
I think settling our claims is a huge issue, and that's one of the topics our community continue to call my office about or raise in our meetings, our annual meetings and our periodic meetings. They keep saying, when is our flooded claim going to be resolved? When is our Williams Treaty going to be resolved? I think treaties and the agreements that the government have made in the past, they're long-standing, and there is obviously nothing happening, nothing to be made right. with all the wrongs that have happened.
So you feel very much dependent, am I saying this right, on the government of Canada to sort of make things right?
Absolutely. Many promises have been made, especially with this government, and we're still waiting. We absolutely need to have some of those supports in our community.
Okay, I got to say, the conventional wisdom on the Trudeau government is, of course, they immediately said yes to all of the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And, you know, what I hear fed back to me frequently is the tone is much better. There is a minister who, you know, is on the case and who cares. But you're saying we're still waiting to see evidence. Is that right?
I guess I need to remind people that these are calls to action. We have yet to see the action.
You've heard the call.
It's not enough to be on paper. We need to see the results of those recommendations.
You say flooding has been an issue for you?
Flooding has been an issue.
How did that happen in the first place?
The Trent Severn waterway system, again, a Canada initiative. So islands that belong to Skilgog First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, and Curve Lake First Nation have been flooded. And that, while that was settled, our mainland, our community, has lost, you know, quite a bit of acreage around its prime area.
So a mega project of Canada flooded your land.
Yes.
And you have been without compensation for that so far?
Correct.
So you'd like to see that dealt with tout de suite?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, Chief Mary, how about you? Well, let me get more direct here. All over the country, in every community, we see issues of drug addiction, we see issues of youth alienation, we see issues of suicide, we see issues of mental health, and we're told these issues are all far more urgent on reserve. Is this your experience as well?
Yeah, I think you know, a lot of the communities share a lot of those types of problems. You know, and it's not the easiest thing to, you know, to try and resolve overnight. You know, like things aren't going to happen, you know, just like that. You know, we can do what we can as leadership to try and drive that particular agenda, but really it comes down to the entire community and wanting to make that change and try to address the root causes of those issues and tackle them.
Do you see that there? Do you see that desire there to address the root causes?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our actually our youth council is very active in, you know, trying to promote that, and they've recently contacted the We Matter campaign to come and facilitate a workshop in our community to do that. The We Matter campaign is fairly new. I think it's about a year old, but it was started by a couple of kids from Hay River, Northwest Territories, and they just go out and they try to promote life promotion. Is what they do. Yeah, they get all kinds of, like, I guess they have videos and stuff like that that they promote and share with Indigenous youth across the country. And what they're doing now is, from what I understand, is they're going into communities and actually training other youth within those communities to host these types of workshops so that they can carry those out in the region. So it's pretty good, and I think having youth driving that is important.
Okay, let's talk.
Youth listen to youth, so
indeed,
yeah.
Indeed. Chief Linda, let's talk economy. 2,500 people in your part of the province. What do they do for a living?
We actually have a high unemployment rate. Our largest employer is the First Nation administration itself. We have a band-operated school, which employs a significant amount of individuals as well. The economy on Manitoulin Island is very poor. In earlier years, it was an economy based on tourism. Obviously, we're on an island and only have one bridge for access.
One bridge and one ferry.
24 hours or 12 months a year, and a ferry for 4 or 5 months a year. Mm-hmm. And with the economy in general, the Canadian and American economy, which used to drive the tourism on Manitoulin Island, has declined over the years. So we face, you know, we're starting to face significant poverty levels. I think when we talk about economy, we have to look back at where we came from to where we are at today. History of my community was, our economy was vast with fishing, making maple syrup, making sugar, some forestry.
Any of that still happen?
Very minimal, very minimal. Our land base is very small, so we don't have the land to do those economic ventures.
Now, here's the thing. If things aren't working well in a particular community, they leave. They go somewhere else where there is work. And that's been a story of many people over the years. Because of your attachment to the land, that's not an option for you, right?
No.
So you got to make it work where you are.
That's right.
How tough is that to do?
It's tough. Our traditional territory is very large, but our community can't just pick up and go there. History tells us that Manitoulin Island was once to be a reserve for the Indians, the whole of Manitoulin. When the settlers came and found good farming land, good access to the Great Lakes, that's when Indian Affairs came in again, and the superintendent at the time signed a treaty with the First Nations. And the history of that treaty is that there was a huge miscommunication. My family is a signatory to that treaty, and our oral history tells us that what was communicated then on that paper was not communicated verbally. So you have two nations, one that is fluently Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi dialect speaking Anishinaabeg to a English speaking country. So our understanding was we will live in peaceful coexistence with each other, and you can come and live with us, but you cannot dig deeper than the depth of a plow. And in exchange of that, the Crown will ensure that you and your families for generations to come will be taken care of.
And I guess you're still waiting for that treaty to be made good on.
We're still waiting.
Still waiting. How many years?
Since the beginning of time, since the arrival, Steve.
Multiple generations.
Multiple
300
generations.
years. Something like that, eh?
Even more than that, right? When we look at the land base of Canada, particularly here in Ontario, my family history tells me that my family was involved from Lake Superior right down to Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. That's where they traveled. So
That's a lot.
it's huge.
Gotcha. Chief Kelly, you got a casino near you?
Yes.
You got any
Yes, we
interest in
do.
that casino?
We did.
And?
I'll explain a little bit, if
Sure.
I may. The casino opened its doors in 1997,
Which
and
one?
originally the Great Blue Heron Charity Casino. Feel free and come and spend some time there. It opens its doors in 1997, and it was originally a hybrid facility. So the OLG had, I think in 2000 they brought their slot machines in. They conducted and managed the slot machines, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation proudly conduct and managed the table games. It was a small boutique charity casino, and it has a certain regulatory framework and legal framework around it, such that not all the monies would directly come back to the community per se. We proudly struck up a charity and chose to opt for the charity model in 1997. 100% of my community wanted the charitable model, and we struck up a charity that's basically the board was made of our members, and it has given away, since 1997, I think it's over, at least over, I think 2 million, 2.5 million, into the Durham region and local economy. So that is something, a point of pride for my community. But I've been mindful of the fact that, people probably wonder, well, why, if you have a casino, wouldn't you have clean water? And that's a valid question, one that I've been scratching my head about since coming on council. But to be honest, the Crown owes a fiduciary duty, which we obviously choose to make the Crown uphold, and we've been working with the federal government in that vein. I don't have the expectation necessarily that the federal government would pay for our entire water treatment facility. I've been wanting to work with them, and in order to do that, I've had to conduct various studies and testing over time to gather data to satisfy their policies, and that has taken decades to do, and was started before I became chief and really got underway, I would say, in 2014. So in 2014, we started the studies, and again, I'm hopeful we're on the cusp of clean water. But I digress.
We're into jurisdictional stuff here, though. That casino money goes to the province,
Yes.
and the money you need to fix your water is federal money. So we
Right.
have a disconnect here.
Yes, there very much there is one. I'd also like to say, I believe it was, when did we sign those agreements? 2015, I think. We signed some new gaming agreements. Now the facility is a commercial one, so the whole conduct and manage authority is resting with the OLG and the provincial government.
With the provincial government, yeah.
That came out as a host of regulatory changes under the charitable gaming regulations. So we decided to opt in that route under OLG's modernization plan that's now underway. But
But are you getting a piece of that action?
we do have a revenue sharing agreement, thankfully, and it was as a result of a couple of years of hard negotiations.
Are you satisfied with that agreement?
Satisfied, I think that would be the word.
Okay. Bringing adequate revenues into the community?
Just adequate,
Just
yes.
adequate. Okay. Fair
Yes,
enough.
indeed.
I can't have 4 female chiefs here without asking a question about the nature of female leadership versus male leadership. There is obviously in politics in this country a lot more male leadership than female leadership, and I want to explore for a few minutes here whether there's a difference. Okay, Chief Williams, what do you see?
I have to mention and honor the fact that our first woman chief in Canada came from Curve Lake, Chief Elsie Knott. I'm the second elected woman chief in Curve Lake. So there was a big span there. I think women are taking their rightful place. I think the fact that, yes, we can run a household and yes, we can do other things, be teachers, lawyers, etc. But I think there's a place for us in politics. I think there's a place where we need to have our voice. The fact that women are becoming more and more leaders is significant, and I think being part of those as chiefs' assemblies and such, I see more people going to the microphones and having that voice. In Ontario, I think the last count I researched was that there was about 41 women chiefs in Ontario and about 128 across Canada.
Out of how many First Nations?
634 across Canada and 134, yes,
So
in Ontario.
disproportionately low still.
It's still low, but our voice is significantly there.
Chief Mary, can I ask you if you've run into sexism on the job?
I can't say that I have. I think it's been pretty respectful in terms of that. In terms of me being a female and being a leader, I haven't run into any of those sorts of issues. I think in my community in particular, when I was running for the elected position, there was a real push for female to take the lead again. And like Chief Phyllis, I'm the second woman leader. The one before me was former Chief Valerie Mineg, and she has been, one of my mentors throughout the years, and I was very lucky to have her kind of plow the path for the women leaders that are going to follow her.
Chief Linda, I want to ask you, you have a bit of a, well, I guess, okay, this is a terrible question for me to ask, but you and I know each other a little bit, so I'm going to ask it already. How old are you?
I just turned 35.
Okay, so you're not only dealing with potentially issues around gender, but maybe around your relatively young age as well. 35 is a very young age to be the leader of anything. Any issues around either of those things?
At the beginning, I mean, like my fellow colleagues here, I am the second elected female chief in my community. The first was former Chief Isadora Bebamash, who still is a pillar in our community, and I look up to her very much as well. When I ran for this position, that was a question of the community. Is she old enough? Is she strong enough? Can she do this? Part of my own growing up and history is that I've always worked hard. I've always attempted to overachieve anything I've ever put my mind to, and I always made sure I fit in somewhere.
But you did get those questions, eh?
I did, and I do as well today. I get comments from federal government officials. I get comments from provincial government officials. But from just general people, they're pretty supportive. My community is also very supportive now. I feel that since I now have about a year and a half under my belt, prior to that I was a counselor and I was very active, I was very vocal. And I continue to do so within our provincial territorial meetings as well as the national meetings.
Do you find yourself having to act, for lack of a better word, kind of tougher in order to overcome whatever prejudices people may have about it?
I do have to assert myself to some degrees. Usually those are at initial meetings. After that, it's gone. After that is completely gone.
Chief Kelly, how about you? Any issues around sexism in your job?
It exists, unfortunately. Working within Scugog First Nation, however, it's been, I'd say, a wonderful experience. We've had female chiefs since the 80s. So there was Yvonne Edgar, and then Tracy Gauthier, who is just retiring from the council now, and she's worked with me for years, and now myself. So, and we've had other women on council as well, very strong leaders. So I feel that Scugog is very comfortable with the nature of female leadership. In fact, I had a baby during my first tenure as chief, and they acclaimed me back into the seat, which was a real honor and a gift.
So you didn't have to run against
I
anybody?
didn't have to run against anyone, and they had faith in my abilities, and I'm very grateful for that. So I feel very comfortable that they know that women in leadership have a multitude of responsibilities, and they've certainly given me license to do that.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to add something. I feel that as well, and I observe a lot as well in my role. I feel that us as women leaders, I feel that we're challenged more. That's what I feel. I feel that we're challenged a lot more than a male, and I firmly believe that comes from the male-dominated political culture, and that's not hereditary or traditionally ours as Anishinaabe people. We all recognize that both male and female have roles in our communities. Women in our communities were always leaders. They're life givers. They did have decision-making skills. History tells us that it's the women who determined which men went to war. So we are the heart of our communities. We are the reasons why our communities exist in terms of life-giving bodies. So we do. I feel that my feeling for my community is I'm very protective of it, of all people, whether they live on reserve or off reserve. And I extend my hand to them. And I make myself available to people. I post my cell phone on Facebook. I put my cell phone everywhere.
Yeah, you're on Twitter a lot, too.
I'm on Twitter, Facebook, all different forms of social media, and I try to stay connected that way. In my current role, the struggles I face is that I don't have an assistant. Unlike, if I make a comparison with provincial governments and my little government, I don't have an assistant. I receive a biweekly honorarium. I don't pay into EI, CPP, pension, nothing. So when we say we are gonna be true servants of the people, we are true servants of the people. It's not for me, it's not my benefit or gain. It's for theirs.
Understood. I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight and helping us understand your worlds a little bit better. Chief Kelly LaRocca from Scugog Island, Chief Linda DeBossigay from Chiging on Manitoulin Island. I'll see you later in the summer, Chief Linda. And on the other side of the table, Chief Phyllis Williams from Curve Lake and Chief Mary McHugh King from Beausoleil First Nation. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.